Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to episode 6. We're getting far into it, guys. Very exciting to be having so many episodes out of our new podcast, now no longer new, Deen Thoughts, with your two favorite hosts, Mira and Adam, right? And today's topic is, you want to introduce it?
Yes, so today's topic is Bir al-Walidain, or respect for our parents.
Respect for our parents, right? Something we all need to learn about, as we all have parents, and it can be challenging, but we'll learn about today why it's so important with a couple ayat and ahadith we have for you guys. Let's get right into it, right? Surah Luqman, ayah 14. Rabbil Alameen says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حملته أمه وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين أن اشكر لي ولوالديك إلي المصير. The translation is, we commanded man to be good in respect of his parents. His mother carried him in her womb despite weakness upon weakness, and his weaning is in 2 years. We said to man, be grateful to me and to your parents. To me is the ultimate return. Obviously, it's Rabbil Alameen saying, be grateful to Rabbil Alameen.
Actually, wait, I know what that means. They say one of the main reasons why Bir al-Walidain is so important is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you life, which is a gift, right, to be able to live. But the means through which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you that life was to your parents. So that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْ. It's along the lines in that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you life and gave you the gift of life through them, so to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your parents.
Right. So, the translation, obviously, it kind of just sums up all of our situation, right?
It talks about, like, the pain that mothers go through.
Right.
And, like, how much, like, the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically saying, like, be dutiful to your parents, and, like, he's reminding you of the pain that the mother had to go through. Like, to remember that this is why we do Bir al-Walidain, for all of that our parents had to go through,
right,
in order to bring us into this world and give us the gift of life.
I mean, like, especially if right now you had kids,
you would know what it feels
and
like,
then maybe you regret, not
you would have a different
doing this from before, having a different perspective. So it kind of just sums up your situation. It's good to share because it really helps you realize, like, what like,
it reminds us
what you're in, right?
Yeah,
it reminds you, like,
us
what your parents did for you, what your mom did for you, especially, and that's why actually there is a hadith, this is a perfect time to bring it up, where a man came to the Rasul ﷺ and asked him, what was it again? It was who from the people is most deserving of my good actions and character? Good actions, right? And then he said, your mother. And then he said, then who? And then he said, your mother. And then he said, then who? Then he said, your mother. Then he said, then who? And then he said, your father.
So he asked him
total
mother
4 times. 3 times.
Yeah.
Right? He said your mother 3 times, and then he said your father. So putting your mother above your father,
it's showing
not
that
because
she has,
like,
3 times
right,
the more right to respect because of everything that she's been through. Like you said, it relates to this ayah.
Now, obviously, that doesn't mean, like, you don't go respect your father, but, like, the only like, it's important to bring that up because it shows you, like, your mother went through giving birth, and your mother is kind
pain.
of, she mostly,
she had the most
your
pain.
Mother, if you look at it, your mother mostly raised you, she feeds you, she teaches you. I mean,
she
obviously
woke up
your father,
in the middle of the
right,
night to take care of you.
Obviously your dad does a lot too, but, like, anyways, all right, next ayah is Surah An-Nisa, ayah 36. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا وَبِذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ وَالْجَارِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى والجار الجنب والصاحب بالجنب وابن السبيل وما ملكت أيمانكم إن الله لا يحب من كان مختالا فخورا. So the translation of this ayah is, worship Allah and do not associate with Him anything, and be good to parents and to kinsmen and orphans and the needy and the close neighbor and the distant neighbor and the companion at your side and your wayfarer and to those owned by you. Surely Allah does not like those who are arrogant and proud. So this one has couple meanings did you want to go over?
Yeah, so one thing that I wanted to highlight, especially in this ayah, and this kind of goes back to the concept of why, like Adam said, not that your dad isn't, like, he doesn't deserve your respect, but the mom deserves a little bit more. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, and then he goes on to say وَبِذِي الْقُرْبَى. So وَبِذِي الْقُرْبَى is referring to, like, your relatives. So we know there's something in Islam, this concept called صِلَةُ الرَّحِم, or the connection of, basically it translates to the connection of the womb. So we have the right upon us, and this falls under bir al-walidain, to keep on ties of kinship between your family. So anyone that's directly related to you by blood from your mother and your dad's side. And the reason why it's an honor, because rahim actually means womb, which is placed inside the woman. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that he named it rahim out of his name and attribute ar-Rahman. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that I took from part of my name ar-Rahman and gave it to the rahim, to show you that that's why usually the mother is more merciful. She's able to wake up in the middle of the night and take care of her child. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he created the rahim, he created it to be something that's fragile. That's also another reason why women are usually, like, more fragile. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so he saw the rahim crying, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked it, why are you crying? And the rahim said that, because I know you created desires in people, and I know that they're going to break me. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said that whoever breaks you, I will distance him from me, and whoever connects you, I will connect him to me. So this goes under bir al-walidain, connecting to not only your parents, but your siblings, your grandparents, your aunts, and your uncles. So keeping that tie of kinship basically with them. And subhanAllah, it's the mother who unites this whole thing. It's the mother that has the rahim that unites families. So I wanted to mention it for that ayah.
Right. So, yeah, that sums it up. That was a good explanation. All right, one more ayah. Surah Al-Isra, ayah 23 and 24, both the ayahs. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة وقل رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. So the translation,
this ayah, sorry, before you mention, this ayah is like bir al-walidain in, like, a summary.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I mean, before I give a translation, I just want to mention, I don't know if you guys realize, but every time it's وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, right? Every time, like, every ayah, right? Every ayah we've said وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ, you know? Saying, doing good to your parents.
And what does it come after?
Thing. Right, so we'll get into this. So let me just give the translation real quick. So the translation is, and your Lord has decreed that you not worship except him, and to parents good treatment, whether one or both of them reach old age while with you, say not to them so much as uff, and do not repel them, but speak to them a noble word, and lower to them the wing of humility out of mercy, and say, my Lord, have mercy upon them, as they brought me up when I was small. Couple of things that I would like to mention. So, number one, Rabbil Alameen says, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهِ, saying, I decreed that you worship only me. Then right after that, he says, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. He puts the parents right after that fact, saying that number one, most mistake, you know, is
the
that
biggest sin,
right, is for you to have shirk and for you to associate partners with me, I mean. But then after that, if you don't have bir al-walidain, right, bil-walidaini ihsana, then that is the second to that, you know.
Let me clarify. So basically, it's this concept that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is legislating tawheed. So tawheed is to worship none other but Allah. And you are saying that it's like the opposite of it is shirk, which is the only sin that if you die upon it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not forgive you. So that's how serious of a sin it is. So right after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the legislation to tawheed, which is basically it's built, if you don't have tawheed, you're not a Muslim.
Right.
Basically. Right after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. So in a sense, he's connecting the parents' right to his right. So if you're lacking in that bir al-walidain, you're lacking in that tawheed and that worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah. Okay. So then he goes on to say, right, don't say uff, right? He says, فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. So first of all, uff, like the fa is one of the weakest letters in the Arabic language.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? It is one of the weakest, right? So one of the strongest is qaf, I'm pretty sure. That's what actually I learned that like last week or 2 weeks ago. But it's one of the weakest, and even he's saying not even the weakest, like something so small, you know? Something so small, something so weak.
Even like that's
exactly, right? So you're not supposed to say that, right? Don't even say showing what? It's a sign of disrespect. And that sign of disrespect you don't want to have for your parents. Don't even say
That's an emotion. That's not even you yelling at them.
Exactly. That's just something you feel like. Even that small thing you have to hold back. So, kind of cool to bring that up. And to realize, I bet you a lot of us, like sometimes our parents give us something unreasonable and you're like, oh my God. Like
good thing you brought that up actually, because there's this concept that like sometimes people are like, well, what if my parents overreact or like they yell at me for no reason? You have to understand that just because someone isn't being respectful to you doesn't mean you're not respectful to them, because they're going to be asked about what they did and you're going to be asked, so what's going to be your justification before
it doesn't make it right for them, don't get us wrong, but at the same time it doesn't make it right for you.
You're just as bad if you do it because just they,
But then again, like
it's hard.
Right, but have like I want to say like an open mind. Like don't think everything they say is unreasonable.
That's true, yeah.
They are your parents after all,
They know more. They have more knowledge.
They have more knowledge, So that's one thing. And then the next ayah, when he brings up even and lowered to them the wing of humility out of mercy. So the wing of humility, right? A metaphor kind of. Why does he mention it as the wing?
Yeah, so basically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning this metaphor because when you're young, you need your parents. You like a baby literally cannot survive without his parents. He can't do anything for himself. But then when you get older, the older you get, the more like independent you get. So you can you can fly by yourself. You can free roam. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاغْفِرْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحٍ. He said janah to give this metaphor of like a bird. As a sense, when you're able to fly and do whatever you want, when you become independent, you're supposed to come back and lower your wing out of humility, as in serve them, be with them. So kind of like, yeah, you're now independent, but don't forget all that they did. Like what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala go on to say in that ayah? Doesn't he say,
No, that's another ayah.
No, he says to make dua for them and to say, to like forgive them as they raised me when I was younger.
Right?
Yeah, to remember what they did for you.
I mean, they had mercy for you, right? So they had mercy for you, bringing you up as a child and everything. And so now you're, in return, are making dua for them to have...
And that's the highest form of bir. Mm-hmm. The highest way that you can do bir al-walidain, to respect your parents, is to make dua for them. And this is the best dua. To say, Rabbi ighfir luma, what is it? Rabbi irhamhuma. Rabbi irhamhuma kama rabbayani saghira. Allah, forgive my parents as they raised me when I was young, because you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them, while at the same time you're remembering what it is that they did for you, why it is that you're now having this mercy and this obedience towards them, because of all that they did for you.
Or you could just say, Ya Rabbi ighfirli wa liwalidain as well.
That's in Salah. We do that
in
Salah,
so that's another thing, right? You're supposed to say that like after you come up from sujood.
So in
between the two sujoods, right? So you say Ya Rabbi ighfirli wa liwalidain. So it's cool how it's incorporated,
into the salah,
every salah you say
that,
showing how important it is.
Okay. So a couple things I want to mention. So first thing is so what exactly is legislated upon not birring? So what is it that you might do that fits into this category of not being obedient to your parents? So Adam mentioned, like we said, you can't say off, not like answering back, being disrespectful. And another thing is to not do anything that might physically or emotionally harm them. So if you know that your parents don't like you to do something, not doing them is out of a form of bir, it's out of a form of respect and obedience. And also, if they tell you to do something, as long as it's not going against what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you to do, highlight that point. As long as they're not telling you to do something haram, you have to listen to them. and it's not gonna harm you. So if it's not going to put you in any danger and it's not something haram, you have to listen. So that's what falls under birr al-walidain.
So if it is something haram, you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to listen to them,
you
because
disobey
Allah's
only
right.
if it's
Yeah,
haram.
Allah's right comes above the rights of the parents, because we said وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا بِالْإِيَّةِ and then بِالْوَالِدَيْنِ.
Exactly.
So it's like that's the what's called. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned a hadith that says لَن يَدْخُلَ الْجَنَّةَ عَاقٍ, that this person, عاق, and I'll explain what that means, will not enter into Jannah. And they said that عاق translates into a person who's disrespectful to his parents. So the Prophet is literally telling us someone who is not obedient to his parents will not enter into Jannah. And we know that paradise, like Jannatu tahta aqdam al-ummahat, that paradise lies under the feet of the mothers. And that's kind of going back to this idea of rahim, which is in the mom, and the hadith where like the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the mom 3 times before the dads. So our parents are essentially the easiest ticket for us into Jannah. And there was a companion at the death of one of his parents, and he was crying profusely. And we know that you're not allowed to like cry and wail in Islam, like at funerals and stuff. And so they asked him like, why are you crying? You know, you're not allowed to do this. And he said, I'm not crying over my parents' death. I'm crying over the fact that I just lost the easiest ticket into Jannah.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So like, we don't understand how big of an impact it is when you are respecting your parents, when you're doing what they told you to do. You're literally getting a ticket to Jannah, inshallah. And
it's one of the doors to Jannah, right?
Yeah, like one of the 8 doors.
Is
that what you're saying? I'm not 100% sure.
I think so.
We can look at that and maybe
mention
it in the next episode. But it just shows the importance of it. Yeah.
Like metaphorically one of the
yeah.
doors.
And then the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, one time a person came and asked him, and he said, if I were to perform Hajj, and my mom, I held her on my back the whole time because she's like old, she's not able to walk. Does that count? Does that basically make up for everything that they did for me? Like, I basically carried her for all of Hajj. Hajj is long. Like,
yeah, Hajj is like
it's a long journey.
Couple days,
it's hard.
Tiring.
Yeah. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he mentioned that you will never be able to repay your parents unless you find them as a slave and you repurchase them. And this goes back to that concept of why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated birr walidain, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the gift of life, but who did he give it to you through? Your parents. So when you find someone as a slave and you purchase them, you're basically setting them free. You're giving them freedom.
Right.
Like a life, you know? So that's the only way. And we can't do that. So we have to try as much as we can to birr al-walidain. And another one, last one, that I want to mention. There's so many good things related to birr al-walidain. So many stories, so many hadiths. 2 more things I'll mention quickly. The Prophet Muhammad
Actually, I want to mention something.
Okay. The Prophet Muhammad he mentioned, he was, I don't quote me on this, but I think he was stepping off the minbar. And he said Ameen 3 times as he was stepping down, and his companions asked him what he was saying it for. And he was, Jibreel had come to him, and he had said, may his face be rubbed in dirt. And the Prophet ﷺ, he stepped down and he said Ameen. And then he said it again, so he said it 3 times. And he said Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. Each time Jibreel is saying, may his face be rubbed in dirt. So the companions were like, who ya Rasulullah? Like, who is it that's going to get such a humiliating punishment? Yeah. And they said, the one who his parents reach old age and he doesn't take care of them. He's not dutiful to them, and he doesn't attain Jannah because of being dutiful to them. So it just shows you this importance that, like, especially when they become older, as we're getting older and they're getting older, it can cause tension. They're a whole new generation. They're a whole different generation. It can cause irritability between the two. But it's still to remember how important this birr walidain is the easiest to get into Jannah.
Right. So what I wanted to mention was don't ever go to sleep when they're angry at you.
I was going to say that too, yeah.
So because that's actually with anyone, any relationship that you have with someone, any friend, family member, whatever, never go to sleep when you're angry at them or they're angry at you. You know, always solve the problem. So let's say you disappointed your parents, right? You go back and apologize to them and be like, you know what, I made a mistake, you know, Baba, Mama, whatever, Dad, Mom, I made a mistake, please forgive me, you know, because it's not going to be worth it. I forgot exactly why you're not supposed to, but I know you're not supposed to.
What if you die?
Yeah, that's what it is. What if you die? Because when you sleep, Rabbil Alameen takes your soul, right? So you basically, that's why when you wake up, you say...
It's called the small death. In Islam, that when you sleep, it's called Maut al-Sughra, because
That's
your
why,
soul actually leaves your body.
That's why when you wake up, you say, Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyana ba'da ma amatana, right? The one who, Alhamdulillah, praise to Allah for the one who gave us life after death.
Your soul asks every
dead,
single night permission to come back. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in the Quran, some He holds, some souls He holds back, and some He gives back.
So imagine you died and your parents are angry at you. You're not going to want them to be mad at you when you die. But I mean, there's multiple reasons, obviously. So never go to sleep when they're angry at you. If you made a mistake, own up to the mistake, you know. Even if they made a mistake, still try to work it out with them. It's not worth it.
It's
holding a grudge, wallah, it's not worth it, you know. Just forgive them, and you're gonna want to forgive anyone, and we'll probably have a whole nother episode.
You want to mention there was a story of a person.
We'll leave it for the forgiving episode.
We'll make it like a teaser.
Yeah.
So you can listen to that
teaser trailer.
Inshallah. Okay, one more thing I want to mention. Oh my god, I lost my train of thought. But going on what you said, like when you do more things for your parents, they have the rida, which is like, how do you say rida? I don't know how to
gratification.
They're happy with you. They're pleased with you. You have their rida. And so basically, when you naturally get into an argument, your parents will never stop having this gratitude towards you because they love you. But it's naturally gonna decrease. Like if someone pisses you off, you're gonna like them a little bit less. You know, you're not gonna stop liking them. So you don't want to even risk the chance of you going to sleep and them, Allah passing away. Right. And you passing away with just a less inch of rida, because if you're gonna stand before Rabbil Alameen and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gonna question you, and He's gonna be like, why weren't you dutiful to your parents, or like, why did you do this? And most of the times the arguments are over like the stupidest things ever, like why didn't you put the dishes away, you know, or like why I told you to do this and you didn't do it. So it's not worth it to lose this easiest ticket into Jannah over such simple and stupid arguments. SubhanAllah, there's actually a story that I watched. I think it's on YouTube. You could probably search it up. But a sheikh was sharing a story of how there was a mother who came to him, and she asked him if she would come and be with her when she pulled her son off life support. This is a true story. Whoa. And so the sheikh, like, naturally he said yes. You know, he was like, okay, I'll come with you. And as they were, like, her child basically, I think, was in an accident. He was on life support. They were about to pull the plug, and they pulled the plug, and I'm not 100% sure. Honestly, I forgot. I heard this story a long time ago. But it was something along, the mother was, like, crying and telling her son, I forgive you, I love you. And the sheikh was, like, kind of confused because he didn't understand why she really wanted the sheikh to be there. So he asked her respectfully after, he's like, with all due respect, why did you want me to be here? And she said that before he had passed away, we had gotten into a very big argument. And I wanted you to be there in order to be like a witness for us that I forgave him. That even though our last words were not positive, that we ended on a state where there was disappointment between us, he has my rida, he has my forgiveness and my love. So subhanAllah, like, literally pause this video right now and go ask rida from your parents. Like, go kiss your mom's hand and go kiss your dad's hand, because you never know when your last day, and you never want to be in a state where they're disappointed in you. It's not worth it.
Yeah, that was actually a sad story. I never heard about that.
I know. It's not like a narration. It's a true story that happened to a sheikh, and he was sharing it. But it's amazing. But do you have anything else you want to share?
No, I think that's all.
Make sure you guys turn on the bell notifications, because you'll get.
We're doing this now.
Yeah, because I mean, you'll know when we post new episodes.
Definitely,
in case like you don't know.
You guys are gonna wanna make sure you turn on the bell notifications. Obviously, follow the podcast.
And share it with
on
others.
Spotify. Share it with who you think.
And we
enjoy.
love hearing your guys' feedback. Wallahi, you guys, you don't understand how thankful we are for you. Inshallah, you guys are getting the ajr, because we're like a Deen Thoughts family, you know? Yeah. We're like a community.
For those who made it this far, thank you for your feedback. For those who are actually giving feedback, make sure to email any topic ideas to us.
Or text us if you want to reach out to us.
Yeah.
But yeah, your support is what's keeping us. So inshallah, you guys are also getting ajr, because you're giving us motivation to do these. But,
alright, guys. Peace out. Assalamu alaikum.